Imagine this. You wake up one morning to a news alert that feels almost like a prank. Headlines everywhere scream the same thing. Scientists confirm humans can now breathe on Mars. No spacesuits, no helmets, no oxygen tanks. Just step outside, fill your lungs, and breathe as naturally as you do on Earth. For centuries, Mars has been painted in our imaginations as a barren red wasteland, deadly to human lungs and hostile to life as we know it. Yet suddenly, without any engineering miracle or heavy machinery, it has become a place where your chest could rise and fall as effortlessly as it does right now, sitting on Earth. The question bursts into your mind before you even finish reading. What would this mean for us as a species? And how would our world, and Mars itself, change forever? The hook here is irresistible because it strikes at the heart of what has always held humanity back from colonizing Mars, the air itself. Right now, Mars's atmosphere is about 95% carbon dioxide, with only a trace of oxygen, so thin and suffocating that it would kill you within minutes without life support. That limitation has shaped every blueprint for colonization, every billion-dollar plan drawn up by NASA, SpaceX, and international space agencies. Oxygen production, habitat domes, greenhouses, and airtight colonies were the foundation of our survival strategy. But what if all of those barriers evaporated overnight? Suddenly, Mars would transform from an alien battlefield for survival into something closer to a second Earth. Breathing is the most basic human need. Remove that obstacle, and you remove one of the largest barriers between us and becoming a multiplanetary species. Now think about the psychology of such a discovery. For generations, children have looked up at the night sky, pointing at the rusty red dot and wondering if we'll ever make it there. Science fiction writers have filled libraries with visions of domed cities, oxygen farms, and high-tech survival suits. But in this new scenario, those childhood fantasies get a shocking upgrade. Stepping onto Mars could be as casual as stepping out of your front door. That kind of news would ripple across the globe like a shockwave. Political leaders, entrepreneurs, and everyday dreamers would all feel the same pull. The red planet is no longer a distant dream. It's a place we can inhabit right now. Airlines would immediately draft plans for commercial flights to Mars. Colonization wouldn't just be a someday discussion. It would shift into an urgent when can we leave reality. Mars would become the single most valuable piece of real estate in the solar system, and every nation and company would want their claim. But breathing is not just about survival. It's about identity. Picture yourself standing on Martian soil, the red dust crunching beneath your boots. You look out over the horizon, a sun smaller than you've ever seen it, casting long shadows across ancient canyons. You take a deep breath, and the air fills your lungs. It doesn't taste metallic or artificial like recycled space station oxygen. It's fresh, alien, but breathable. For the first time in history, you're not just a visitor protected by layers of machinery, you're a resident. That single act of breathing would erase the invisible line that has always divided humans from other worlds. Suddenly, Mars wouldn't feel like a hostile outpost. It would feel like a place where humanity belongs. And that is where the curiosity sharpens into a paradox. If we could breathe on Mars, what else would change? Would the planet's ecosystem adapt to us, or would we adapt to it? Would we plant crops in open fields instead of sealed domes? Would we walk unprotected across valleys and mountains, claiming them as casually as pioneers once crossed the American West? Or would breathing there unlock darker challenges, unexpected consequences that no one saw coming? Because while oxygen may be the key to survival, it also opens a door to risks, competition, and moral dilemmas that could shape humanity's destiny forever.
If humanity could suddenly breathe on Mars, the very foundation of space exploration science would be rewritten. Until now, every mission design has been haunted by one overwhelming problem. Mars's atmosphere simply isn't made for us. Thin, fragile, and composed mostly of carbon dioxide, it could never sustain life the way Earth does. But imagine if that barrier no longer existed. Overnight, the red planet would leap from being an environment of death into one of possibility. The irony is that breathing, something so simple, so instinctive on Earth, would become the single greatest revolution in planetary science. Suddenly, colonization shifts from a technological challenge to a logistical one. Instead of asking, how do we survive, we would now ask, where do we live, and how fast can we move in? Agriculture would be the first frontier. With breathable air, scientists would test the soil for its ability to grow crops. Current research shows Martian soil, while mineral-rich, is laced with toxic chemicals called perchlorates. On present-day Mars, any attempt to grow plants requires elaborate filtering and protective greenhouses. But in this new world, farming could occur on open ground, beneath the alien sky. Imagine vast fields of genetically modified wheat swaying in the Martian breeze, or orchards of apple trees sprouting against a red horizon. If oxygen is freely available, scientists would only need to solve soil purification. And once that hurdle is crossed, Mars would no longer be a barren desert. It would become Earth's second farmland. The very idea of food security, which has plagued humanity for centuries, would suddenly have a new solution. Not just feeding billions on Earth, but growing abundance on a new world. But oxygen does more than just feed our lungs. It fuels fire, metabolism, and ecosystems. If Mars were breathable, it suggests the planet's atmosphere would be denser, more stable, and capable of supporting liquid water for longer periods. Rivers, lakes, and maybe even shallow seas could be restored. Picture the transformation: the icy poles melting, dust storms mixing with clouds of water vapor, rain falling on Martian plains for the first time in billions of years. Human settlements wouldn't just be bunkers against the cold, they could be open-air cities with roads, schools, markets, and parks, just as on Earth. Children born there would grow up never knowing the suffocating helmets and glass domes of science fiction. They'd run freely under a salmon-colored sky. The psychological shift would be enormous. Mars wouldn't feel like an outpost of humanity, it would feel like a home. Yet this vision comes with scientific puzzles. If Mars has air we can breathe, where did it come from? Did the planet undergo a sudden natural transformation, or was it altered by some external force, maybe even intelligent design? That mystery alone would drive decades of research, sparking debates not just among scientists, but philosophers, theologians, and political leaders. A breathable Mars would raise existential questions. Are we truly alone in the universe? Was Mars prepared for us? Or did Earth and Mars share a hidden connection all along? And then comes the ecological dilemma, introducing humans into a fragile Martian ecosystem. Breathing is one thing, but living means spreading microbes, bacteria, and eventually entire species. Every step we take would introduce Earth life to Mars. Would that spark a new evolutionary story, or would it devastate native microbial life that may still exist in hidden pockets of the soil? Colonization always carries consequences, and history has shown that when one ecosystem collides with another, it rarely ends without conflict. Scientists would need to weigh progress against
Picture Mars not just 5 years from discovery, but 5 centuries later. By then, the shock of breathing freely on the red planet will have faded. Colonies will have grown into cities, cities into nations, and nations into civilizations. Earth and Mars will no longer be two sides of one story, they'll be two separate worlds, bound by history, but divided by destiny. And the biggest question we will face is this: what does it mean to be human when humanity no longer belongs to just one planet? And yet, through all this change, one thread would endure: the breath itself. Whether on Earth, Mars, or some distant star, every descendant of humanity will share the same simple act. Inhale, exhale, life carried by air. Breathing freely on Mars would remind us that life's most essential miracle is not bound to one world, it's portable, universal, adaptable. In that sense, we'd never truly lose our humanity, we'd expand it. To breathe on Mars is to prove that life is not confined to Earth. It is to prove that the universe itself is our home. So the question lingers, echoing across time. If tomorrow we could breathe on Mars, would we use that gift to build wisely or to repeat the same mistakes of greed, conflict, and division? Would Mars become a second chance or a second tragedy? The answer perhaps lies not in the air of Mars, but in the hearts of those who breathe it.